Guys, do you know what would be an awesome game to play while watching this movie? Take a shot during every single time the camera pushes in or pans in on a human, on a character, or an object. I don't think we would make the first 45 minutes. We'd all be passed out drunk. It's true. Anyway, hey there guys, what's up? It's Autobot Mike 18 here, back with another old movie review. Guys, just to make this known, I know some of you love this series so much, and I love doing this as well, and watching these movies for the first time just blows my mind. Some of these movies, especially, I pick really good classic movies that are so well beloved. But guys, this is probably going to be my last old movie review for a while, actually. I start school in 2 days, actually, at the time I'm filming this. So there's no way I'm going to get to sit down and watch old classic movie reviews and review them at the same time. So this is probably going to be my last one for a while. I might do one or two throughout the fall and winter, especially because Quentin Tarantino's releasing a new movie at the end of the year, as well as Spielberg's releasing something. Because certain directors are releasing films, I may do an old movie review in honor of their upcoming new film. But we'll see. But as of right now, this is probably going to be my last old movie review for a while, until next summer at least. I'm sorry about that, but I just don't have time for them all the time. Regardless of that, guys, I wanted to go out with a bang, of course. So one of the last old movie reviews that I've decided to do is for this film, of course, and it is There Will Be Blood. That's right, guys. There Will Be Blood was released in 2007, and it is from highly acclaimed director Paul Thomas Anderson. Now, guys, I would like to make a little secret. I have never seen a Paul Thomas Anderson film. Until this. No, seriously, I know, I feel bad about it. I just watched my first PTA film this summer, and I gotta watch more now, okay? Yes, I want to watch Boogie Nights, and I want to watch Punch Drunk Love. He did Boogie Nights, right? Yeah, I think he did. I hope he did. I want to watch, I watched There Will Be Blood. Of course, I gotta watch, oh god, what is that? One of his more recent. I gotta watch The Master. I gotta watch a lot of his films. A lot of catching up to do for Paul Thomas Anderson. But I picked There Will Be Blood because this is widely regarded as his best by many. Of course, I just got it on Blu-ray recently, so that's why I decided to review it. Anyway, guys, so There Will Be Blood, again, released in 2007, directed by PTA. It was, I think, like one of the best highly critically acclaimed films of that year, and a lot of people wanted it to win the Oscar. Of course, the infamous battle between this and No Country for Old Men took place that year. No Country for Old Men ended up dominating the Oscars. This movie, however, took home Best Actor for Daniel Day-Lewis, as well as Best Cinematography, and of course, I'll bring that up a little bit later in my thoughts on that, because I did actually watch No Country for Old Men as well this summer, my first Coen Brothers film that I watched and reviewed, so I'll talk about that later. But anyway, guys, let's get into the plot synopsis behind There Will Be Blood, of course without spoilers. So guys, the film is set somewhere between the mid-1890s, and it spans over a couple decades, ending somewhere throughout the mid-1920s to 1930s. Okay, and our main character is an aspiring, ambitious man turned oil prospector, and his name is Daniel Plainview, and in this movie he's played by Daniel Day-Lewis. We open on him in the beginning working on this, like, mining of this, like, area, and he just gets right into it, okay? Ever since, he started in the mid-1890s, he got into mining oil, and made a really successful business out of it, got really lucky out west, in that whole area. He has a really thriving oil business at this point, and at this, he is not willing to let anything get in his way. You could tell from the opening scene alone that this is a man who wants the best for himself. He basically wants the essential American dream of the early 20th century, essentially, and that's Daniel Plainview. He has a son that he adopted, goes by the name of H.W., and a son that he took in after an incident during one of the minings. But anyway, some point early on in the film, Daniel Plainview is approached by a local preacher somewhere in California who goes by the name of Eli Sunday, and in this movie he's played by Paul Dano. And he informs Daniel Plainview that his family's large bit of land. They have a lot of acres, and he believes it is the potential, like there's potentially a ton, and I mean a shit ton, of oil underneath their land, in the ground. So this catches Daniel Plainview's interest, of course. He sets out west into California to collect this oil and make his business thrive further. And of course, when you have one man with completely different ideologies, like Daniel Plainview, conflicting and clashing with another man who has a different set of ideologies, Eli Sunday, the end result is not going to be good, as we get to follow Daniel Plainview's utter character transformation and his descent and the decline of his own mental stability, and we get to see this man transform before our eyes, and that is all I am going to say about There Will Be Blood. I do not want to say and spoil another word, but yes, There Will Be Blood has a pretty damn incredible screenplay, I'm going to be honest. Now guys, before I get any further, I have one thing to say. I drink your milkshake! Guys, I love that line so much. As soon as he said that line, I burst out laughing. I was like, this is great. Anyway, guys, There Will Be Blood. Again, going into this movie, I had strong hopes for it. It's Paul Thomas Anderson, beloved filmmaker, okay? Being a film student, I've had pressures from numerous fellow film students who I've admitted to them before I watched this movie. I have never seen a PTA film before. And you won't believe the outcry, the backlash that I got for saying that, essentially. And now I can finally say that I've seen one, and I must say, guys, There Will Be Blood is an incredibly slow-moving movie, okay? It has the type of, screenplay where the events and the characters and the actions that they undergo and have to deal with throughout the film are compelling in their own right, but the entire, the pacing is very slow building to sort of build up to, what we're waiting for, or the events we are waiting to see unfold in regards to these characters. The movie is building up these conflicts and these pressures that Daniel Plainview has to face, brought on by numerous challenges involving his adopted son, people coming into his life that are trying to, take advantage of him, essentially. And you just get to see this guy go through this downward spiral as the film progresses. You get to see the type of man he becomes come the final 20-30 minutes of the movie. And yes, it's a very slow-moving movie, but guys, I am not complaining about that one bit, because there are filmmakers out there who can really pull off a slow-moving movie and make it as riveting and as compelling as it should be, and that is what There Will Be Blood is. Because yes, although it is a slow-moving movie, there is not one moment in this movie where I fell asleep or got bored or wanted to take my eyes off the screen, because There Will Be Blood is a 100% riveting, just enthralling drama with incredible performances, an amazing screenplay, stellar execution, camera work, and directing. And that is why I loved this movie as much as I did, and now I must see another Paul Thomas Anderson film. Guys, wow, I really don't know what took me so long to watch this movie. And again, I'll get into the No Country for Old Men, There Will Be Blood, yes. Two movies, both not set in the present day of which they were released. This is the early 20th century. No Country for Old Men was like the 1980s, whatever. And both movies were actually, fun fact, both movies were actually shooting in the same location back in 2006 or whatever. And I think they had to let off explosions in this movie, and it affected the filming of No Country for Old Men. And of course, as we all know, No Country for Old Men ended up taking big Oscars, Best Picture and Best Director and everything for the Coens. And There Will Be Blood, I'm not going to say what film I like more, but you can tell if you watch both reviews what film I've appreciated more. But guys, again, there wasn't a moment of There Will Be Blood where I wasn't like, that scene doesn't matter, that scene shouldn't be there, that scene's irrelevant. Every single scene contributes to that completely satisfying, that completely brutally very darkly satisfying finale that we had been waiting for the film to build up for. And it's everything you'd want plus more. And with the way they decide to cut the film off and end it, it just will leave you in awe at what you have seen transpire on screen. And that is just why I love There Will Be Blood as much as I do. And yes, the screenplay is amazing. The dialogue between these characters is what drives the story. It's what's driving this movie. It's the dialogue. It's the conflicts that these characters deal with. It's these two men that are both clashing for what they look at as the American dream for completely different reasons. Eli Sunday wants to be a successful religious preacher, and although he just takes it way too far and is overly fanatic and, entrusts God into, and religion into literally every single thing, Daniel Plainview is a completely different man, doesn't really believe in that sort of stuff, or it's never really fully revealed where he or I think he even says it himself, I have many different faiths. But he's the type of man who's just straight up after the American dream. He wants money. He wants to be successful. He wants to thrive. He wants his business to thrive. He wants the best for him and his adopted son. And that is what makes their conflict so engaging and so intriguing to watch. And it's not just them, because that's what the movie sold. That's what I read descriptions of this movie. That's what this movie was selling to me. It's this battle, this uphill battle of words and wits between these two men. And yes, it is that. But this man, Daniel Plainview, has so many other obstacles that he has to face as he is in the middle of trying to mine this family's acreage of land and get their oil. He has problems involving his son, and again, people coming into his life to take advantage of him. Different obstacles of the surrounding townspeople of where he's trying to pull this job off. It's just every little thing, and even the slightest little problem, and Daniel Plainview's master plan is going to push him over the edge. And all of this mixed into one is what does push this man over the edge. And when you get to see that all unfold, and you get to see the man that he becomes, the transformation that he undergoes, it's utterly flawless, in my opinion, to just watch this all unfold on screen. And that's just the best praise I have to give the screenplay. And I've just been talking this entire time about the script. I haven't even started bringing up the performances because, again, that is one of the biggest driving forces of this movie as well. Daniel Day-Lewis won Best Actor for this movie, and I couldn't agree more with that. Guys, this might be, out of every single Academy Award for Best Actor, this might be the most deserving. Out of all the performances I've personally seen, and that's saying a lot, because I've seen a lot of Best Actor winning performances, but Daniel Day-Lewis is perfection in this movie, okay? This is a man who always transforms himself on screen, okay? I haven't seen My Left Foot, but I have seen Lincoln, and I know that this guy is talented, okay? And I've just seen 2 of his movies, and I already feel he's given 2 of the best performances of this decade, okay? And of this century, essentially. He just, not only does he physically transform himself in, how these events affect his age and, affect his wits in a sense, but his accent is perfect. Just the character beats the emotional beats that his character goes through, just seeing this character go down this downward spiral and decline in his mental stability is intriguing and engaging in its own right, and that's what makes this an incredible performance. We feel for this man. We sympathize for this guy when we first start off with, the movie first begins. And to see what he goes through, and to see the vile and just disgusting man, or nearly disgusting man that he becomes based on all of the challenges that he has faced, is the big payoff, and that is where Daniel Day's performance utterly excels. The last 40 minutes of this movie, Daniel Day-Lewis is incredibly flawless, and I could not find a false note in this man's performance. Whenever the camera, slowly pans in on these characters, and, we have a little bit longer takes when the camera does that, not once did I feel that he was out of character, or he was, slipped up with the accent. 100% a perfect performance throughout this entire film, which I think is 2.5 hours long. That, my friends, is dedication. This is 2 hours and 40 minutes. Whoa. Okay? I mean, if that's not incredible acting, then I don't know what is. Then this is one of the best performances I've ever seen. Period. Period. And Paul Dano. Like, I knew this kid was a good actor, okay? Prisoners, 12 Years a Slave, and most recently Love and Mercy. One of his best from Love and Mercy. This is the best performance I've ever seen Paul Dano give, by far. There is a scene in church with him and Daniel Day-Lewis, and the entire moment where he is trying, where the both of them, not so much Daniel Day-Lewis, but Paul Dano is trying to get the better of him, and there are other scenes where Daniel Day-Lewis is trying to either humiliate Paul Dano or get the better of him. I mean, it's perfection, and the two of these men work perfectly off one of each other in their similarities and their differences, and that is what makes for engaging cinematic conflict and engaging cinematic storytelling at its finest. And Paul Dano is just freaking incredible in this movie, guys. Both of these men deserved Oscars. Daniel Day-Lewis won his. Paul Dano didn't even get nominated. And quite frankly, that is a travesty because he utterly deserved it. He was flawless in this film as well. Two incredible performances. Two of the best of all time. What can I say? They were that good. And then finally, how could I not bring up the utterly flawless direction in this movie? Paul Thomas Anderson, man, he executed this movie perfectly. You can tell that when, I believe he co-wrote the screenplay. Yes, he wrote the screenplay. Alright, maybe since he wrote the screenplay, he had an exact vision in mind of how he wanted this film to look. Or maybe as he wrote the script, he probably went through revisions and said, no, this is how I want the movie to look. I want the movie to have longer shots. Shots that pan in and have marvelous camera work. That rack focus perfectly. There was a lot of that. They achieved the depth and the dimension in shots. Like, I look in all of that when in regards to cinematography and directing. I always look at that when I watch a movie like this, especially. And it's the finest cinematography at its best, okay? Robert Elswit absolutely deserved that Oscar. Gorgeous shots with incredible lighting. They have depth, they have dimension in them, and they are beautifully executed with actual camera work. The camera operators, bravo, okay? Paul Thomas Anderson just knew what he was doing behind the camera, without a doubt, 100%. Just knew what instructions to give his actors, what blocking techniques he told them to use, and in these shots, everything is so perfectly crafted and executed through not only shots and lighting, but also through editing and cuts, because the editing is perfect in this movie. Yes, it's very slow moving, and the movie meanders very, very slowly, but it makes the movie all that more effective, and it builds things up all that more into the straight up one of the best finales I've ever seen to a film. My jaw hit the floor. I was so satisfied, yet at the same time, I felt like I was rooting for a completely different man from where this film opened. I love the ending of this movie. I love, just everything is perfect about this movie, guys. There Will Be Blood is a flawless movie. I never got bored. I never lost interest. Everything is surefire, from the performances, to the direction, to the cinematography, to the editing, to the utilization of these shooting locations and the set, production design, all of that worked perfectly. Everything. There Will Be Blood deserves no grade other than an A+ or a 10 out of 10. Guys, I love this movie. What a movie to go out and conclude the summer for old movie reviews, guys. There Will Be Blood is great. I love every moment of it. If you haven't seen it, like me, please do yourself a favor and watch it before you get ostracized by everybody you know. Anyway, guys, that's all I have to say about There Will Be Blood. Perfect movie. Probably one of my favorites of all time. Guys, what did you think of the movie? Let me know down below. And guys, I'd also like you to answer for me down below in the comments. Would you like to see short, mini, old movie reviews for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and Boys Don't Cry? Those are two other movies I saw, did not review. I would be happy in getting little reviews for them, like short reviews, like just briefly giving my concise thoughts on them and whatnot. I can get them up for you guys if you'd like me to. I just have to film them. So let me know about that down below, guys. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye. Bye, guys.